welcome to Tipping Point.
All right, and of course, my name is Nick Mudimba.
And I am Tamima Ibrahim.
Anyway, so today we are focusing on so many issues affecting our country. But let's start. Those headlines affects us too in the age where 140 characters can speak a revolution.
And the vision behind this show is to be brave, honest, and responsible. As
long as you keep questioning the answers, so will we.
It's not about closing arguments, but opening minds with data, facts, where details really matter.
Of course, to bring you out of the heat, but also the light, to help you understand your world and your role in it.
Welcome to Tipping Point. So today we have a very fresh show lined up for you. Of course, we'll be looking at some of the stories that have been making headlines over the last couple of days. And of course, the big story today as we start the show is a story on the COVID-19.
Absolutely.
So obviously, this is the big story. Every Kenyan is talking about this, and we have an interesting interview lined up to you just to give you the facts and basically what you need to know.
Absolutely. And of course, our panelist today, it's a very factotum panelist whereby we want to discuss so many things because, as you know very well, the headlines yesterday and of course Kenyan social media, the uproar was simply the plane touched down from China and people felt like there's a problem here. We need to sort this out. Mr. Wang is actually from the embassy of China with us here. Beatrice Marshall, global anchor, CGT in Africa, is also here, us with her. And of course, Bwana Mongare is here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Last time he was here, he really blew hot on the issue. Beatrice, good to see you.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Mr. Wang, good to see you.
Absolutely. And of course, we kick off this story from the update that happened today. Obviously, the health ministry gave an update on the preparedness of the Kenyan government for a coronavirus outbreak in Kenya, saying it had taken several steps to keep the public safe. The update followed complaints by the public after a plane from China, the country where the virus originated, landed in Kenya on Wednesday.
Now, Health Chief Administrative Secretary Rashid, that is a man, said the plane has, of course, had a total of 231 passengers, 13 of whom were Kenyans, 198 Chinese, and the rest on transit. This begs the question, was this a right move by the government?
I guess that's where we started from. Beatrice, was this the right move by the government? What do you think?
I'm going to start with your opening statement. It says, we want to use data to open minds. So let's use data to open minds here. Now, globalization. We start with globalization. Globalization is a phenomenon now. You know, there's a lot of movement from here to China, from China to Africa. The African Union itself estimates that there are 600% flight increases over the last 10 years as a result of the trade that Africa does with China. So the world is moving, the globe is moving, trade has to continue, people have to move. You're asking, was this a right move by China? Absolutely. The World Health Organization itself, and it is both China and Kenya, the World Health Organization itself has said that there is no need for restriction of flights. Think about it. It is not time for isolation. It is time for solidarity. If we are all, as a global audience, if we are to kick the epidemic, we must stand together in solidarity, not isolating, not saying we cannot go there or they cannot come here. And I'll pose this question to you as well. How would you feel about the Africans who are constantly locked out of Europe and, you know, have to go through the Mediterranean Sea to reach the other end? Thousands are dying each year as a result. So I say it is time for solidarity. It is not time for isolation.
So I think in a lot of ways correct, because we are looking at discrimination as an issue here, and I kind of feel like how we address that, especially for the general public, is with the facts. We do know that 239 passengers came into the country, so they are supposed to self-quarantine for 14 days. What does that mean? Does it mean that a man or a woman who came from China on that flight goes to their home? Is there anybody who's monitoring them? Are they allowed to leave their home? Are they allowed to go to the supermarket? I kind of feel like these are some of the questions that the public needs addressed, sort of just like to quell the fear, because there's a lot of fear mongering thanks to social media.
For me, the question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know, the China embassy in Kenya actually attached a report to the control and prevention of the virus. So as for the question, actually all the Chinese passenger coming on the plane from China has gone through many steps of the check before they arrived here in Kenya. For example, when they leave their living community, they have the temperature check. Oh, as we know, I'm not an expert, but I know the two main symptoms of this infection. One is high temperature. The second is the cough. Cough you can watch, right? You can notice. But for temperature, is the main measure to check. So first, when they live their living community, they get the temperature check, and then they take the public transport between cities. They have another step to check. I mean the temperature check, and then when they arrived at the airport, the hall, the departure hall, again the temperature check, and before departure, before boarding, once again, and also on the plane. As we required, actually it had been always happening. The plane had been equipped with the medical supplies and sanitizing supplies all the way. And when they arrived here in Kenya, as far as I know, so 3 steps of the temperature check will be done for the passengers. First, the Kenya government will send the medical teams on board, and they check the body temperature. And when they get off the plane, before they enter the building, I mean the airport building, so one more time. And then when they proceed to the immigration desk, there's a sensor, I think, with the frame, 3rd time. So meanwhile, the embassy will send our staff to the airport to have the on-site assistance, just in case if somebody, I mean the passenger, would like to have help from the embassy. See, I think, we also have noticed that the Kenya government have taken some measures. I think they are effective.
Mr. Wang, can you confirm whether any of the passengers who came from China were actually tested and for the virus?
Yes. Well, as a very, I think, effective and strict measure for the control and prevention, the embassy has already notified all the Chinese companies here and also the Chinese community. Normally, some contact person, the local Chamber of Commerce, for example.
All right. Sorry, I'm cutting you short. So the biggest question is, and I'll have to rope in Bwana Nathaniel. And before we rope in Nathaniel, this is a very interactive session, so keep tweeting us, and of course SMSs for free on 22999. We'll be sampling your views as we proceed with this conversation. Kenyans are crazy, Kenyans are mad, because now they don't understand why literally a whole plane of 200 plus people landing at JKIA and nothing is being done. Now, let's talk about the quarantine. You see, you're told to stay indoors for 14 days. And the question is, who will follow up on these people in their houses for 14 good days?
Nick and Tamima, first of all, last time I was here, I was speaking to my civic duty, and I was quite radical. You know, I'm a radical left politician. And at the same time, I was criticizing the Chinese government and the lifestyle and other stuff, but I was also sympathetic last time with the Chinese people. You remember when Kenya is part of the global order, we are part of the global community. We've called the community of nations, and therefore we should be naturally sympathetic to the Chinese for the epidemic that is happening in their country. Secondly, since we adopted the policy of look east, as Beatrice has said, the trade between Kenya and China is increasing compared to any other country in the world. Therefore, we cannot avoid movement of people and goods from China to Kenya and vice versa. Therefore, it is something that when you are asking the question about self-quarantining for the people who came in Kenya, it is a question that is speaking to the fears among Kenyans that if somebody who is tested positive comes in, and then this person, maybe by accident, of course, the disease is spreading at a very fast rate. Then it infects and it spreads. What is the state of preparedness of the country to handle such cases of emergency? And it's something that we discussed at length last time when we had this discussion. So I think basically it is an issue that is speaking to the fear among Kenyans and whether the government is prepared. But I like the fact that he has mentioned about the issues of the test and the various issues that are being, the procedures before boarding, something that is very important. I want to emphasize that the government should be able to come up with its own screening at the points of entry, the ports of entry, across the country, especially through the main airport in JKIA. That is the only way. But the issue of self-quarantining cannot work best before the government itself puts the screening mechanism at the points of entry.
Okay.
And then just
let me just add onto what you're saying, because as the councillor has mentioned here, then the number of steps, that the rigorous number of steps that are already being taken by the people before they board the plane, being checked right from their homes, when they board the bus, when they get to the airport, when they get into the plane. You know, look at those number of steps. When they exit out of the plane, on board before they exit out of the plane, and even at our own JKI, right? When they get onto, before they get into our airport, those are many number of checks. And I just want to add as well what the councillor was saying earlier on. When they are at home, right? When we talk about self-quarantine, they are monitored by the embassy, and they are also expected to call in every day.
So they have been given a contact numbers. They can actually be in touch with an agency.
The embassy is aware of everybody who has come in from
But
from
Nick, something that is more fundamental, and you know, this is something that Kenyans are asking, is that there's a plane that has come in with 239 passengers, but there are Kenyans who are living in China who are calling for rescue, that they should come. They're actually literally crying that the Kenyan government should bring them home, and even their loved ones are asking that question. Instead, the government is saying that we will send them 1.3 million Kenyan shillings as pocket money while they are there. You know, that is a contradiction that is coming out. But naturally, I'm sympathetic to the Chinese situation. In fact, if we had capacity, the Kenyan government should have sent the expertise. It's only that we don't have those kind of experts, because this is a new disease that has come out. Just like Ebola, we should have even sent expertise to go and assist the Chinese. I think it's something that we need to ponder.
Yeah, when you talk about the government, there must be some sort of kind of a force the government comes out. So let's listen in to Rachel Mamo, who is the CS Foreign Affairs. She had to say so much about the scare that is going on right now in the country. Take a listen.
Universities also provide foodstuff for students staying in hostels. They have also established WeChat groups, which is the equivalent of WhatsApp groups, and which have been created, consisting of university faculty members, volunteers, and international students, in order to address their needs and to further provide psychological counseling to ease loneliness, anxiety, and such fears as the students may have. The embassy itself in Beijing has established communication channels with the students to help deal with their psychological and mental needs, and that are attendant on the isolation and quarantine circumstances in that city. Ambassador Serem, who has been doing an excellent job with the staff at the Kenya Embassy in Beijing, has spoken directly to the students and to the student leadership to encourage them and to assure them of government support and empathy. The embassy, on its part, has disbursed Kenya shillings 1.3 million to the affected students in Wuhan to supplement the stipend from the government of China and to defray the costs of food and other basic needs.
And this is what former Prime Minister Raila Odinga had to say.
As you know, the city of Wuhan is sealed off, even for the Chinese. And the people there are under protection and care of the Chinese government. I think it will be taking a risk of saying that we're bringing those people from the corona-infected country back to Kenya. They are Kenyans, yes, but let them stay there, just like the Chinese are also staying, because there's a danger that they may bring themselves this coronavirus here into Kenya. They're not any different from the Chinese. If you were to allow Kenyans from there to come, then why do you deny Chinese from there from coming?
So the question is, why is this information not so much into the public domain? Because we've been told about the steps they've taken to make sure everyone is safe. But let's listen in to what Kenyans out here had to say.
Kile ninaelewa ni kwamba kuna wakati serikali ilianza kutrain the current nurses, especially kule kwa uwaja, vile wanaweza kabiliana na ule ugonjwa inayo virus, na tunaamini kwamba experience wakati mwingine huleta kuzoea na kujua Na sasa kama iko katika nchi ya habari, hatuwezi sema wako tayari ama tuseme hawako tayari, kwa sababu ni mambo hawajakabiliana nayo, ni kitu kigeni, ni ugonjwa mgeni.
Mimi naona Kenya bado hatujafikia ile kiwango cha kukabiliana na hiyo ugonjwa, maana kama China wanajaribu na wanashindwa kidogo, na Kenya vile tunafanya mambo slow, inawezekana tunaweza kulemewa tusipotia bidii.
Ningekuwa ni gava, ingefungo kitu ya kwanza ni itoke na hii maneno ya.
All right, Kenyans are very inquisitive. Now, this question goes to Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang, the Kenyan government and Chinese government have been very keen. So many deals, business deals, expatriates. There's so many things happening. But let's look at the collaboration in making sure that this is contained. What has the Kenyan government done with the Chinese government to make sure we contain all these? It's not a pandemic now. It's just an epidemic. What do you think is happening right now?
Here in Kenya, in the way I'm here in Kenya,
yeah, absolutely.
From the outbreak of the virus, we are keeping very close contact with the Kenya government, especially the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Well, we, for example, just now we talked about the passenger, the plane of the passenger. Actually, for your government, your immigration knows all the list of the passengers, and also we have the list of Chinese national non-citizen plane. But under the premise of protection of the privacy, we because we have the direct contact with the with the Chinese national here, we exchange information. If if there are any cases or suspicious cases reported, so we have, but that must be done with the consent of the individuals.
Okay.
And probably, Mr. Wang, finally, Nathaniel brought up a very good point earlier. Is the Chinese government working hand in hand with the Kenyan government, perhaps, to look after the students who are in China, the Kenyan students who are in China?
Yeah, yes, we have a close contact with that issue. I mean, now there are about 90 students staying in Wuhan, studying in Wuhan. Just now we already heard from the foreign ministry here. We have a close touch with your ministry here, foreign ministry, to exchange information about their request, about their condition, the students there, because multiple students they are in China studying under the China government scholarships. So we try to contact the local. We have done, we contact. We have been doing this. We contact local foreign affairs office in Wuhan, also in Hubei province, to provide all the need.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Maybe a bit just briefly before we transition, we've said so much, very important points right here. But why do you think such information is not in the public domain? Because it still beats me, because we have to focus on how to bring back the public trust. But we're finding a situation whereby the public do not have any clue about the screening processes, even in the airports, from the plane, from boarding, from actually landing. Why do you think there's a loophole here?
The information is actually out there. It depends on where you're looking.
Okay.
The information is out there. We have information from the World Health Organization. We have information from Chinese authorities who issue daily pressers, who issue daily updates. Today we were told about the number of people in total who have been infected. We are seeing a total openness, right?
Okay,
But it is the age of social media,
right.
you know, and so in this age of social media, sometimes by the time a story gets to a certain level, it has completely metamorphosized and changed. So
right.
Because of time.
Because of time. We're going to come back to that.
Yeah,
and I kind of feel like in the context of this particular topic, this is a hot issue. This is an issue that the world has been discussing literally from January, and it's going to be a continuing discussion on this show. Remember that you can join the conversation by the hashtag tipping point, and of course SMS line, which is on your screen, 22999. But right now it's time for a very quick break. We'll be right back.
All Right, welcome back to Tipping Point. Yes, that was coronavirus. We're done with that. Now we transition back home. Of course, it affected us, but still back home. And right now joining us is Justice Mutunga, who's an advocate of the High Court. And of course, Nathaniel Mung'are still remains with us.
Well, the other big story that we have for you, obviously, if you live in Nairobi, if you live in Kenya, you must have heard about the landmark agreement that was signed at State House, Nairobi, where the county government of Nairobi handed over the functions of the county to the national government in a move aimed at ensuring that Nairobi residents receive services efficiently. This comes even as Sonko's impeachment motion gathers momentum for Tuesday next week. The move has caused mixed reactions amongst residents of Nairobi as well as politicians at large, with activists calling the move illegal.
Now, from Tamima now, you know very well, when activists come in, that means there's something wrong. Because now, you know, we have a constitution that guides us in all these steps or appointments and takeovers. And this is something that no one expected, but as it is, allegedly, when Mike Sonko was just actually phoned, went to State House, this thing happened very fast. In a span of 30 minutes, we were done here. But Nathaniel, you are a politician.
Yes.
You're a governance expert. Do you smell anything here?
First of all, it has everything to do with the woes facing the governor. And these things are either manufactured or the governor caused upon himself those woes. Secondly, the national government has never wanted to relinquish the Nairobi City County. If you remember, before devolution in 2010, there was a ministry of Nairobi Metropolitan.
Yes.
That was the only ministry that was created to supervise Nairobi County. And immediately after Governor Sonko took over, the president created what we call the Nairobi Regeneration Team. It clearly tells you that from the very beginning, the goose of Governor Sonko was as well as cooked. It was only a matter of time before he could hand over. But what I read more sinister in this move is the fact that we are progressively or slowly reverting back to the move that was done at independence in 1966 to abolish the Senate.
Do you support the move?
I don't support the move at all, because this is going against the spirit of the people. It's against the spirit of the tenets of devolution.
Okay.
We want county governments to function. If it is about premising the argument on Article 187 of the Constitution, which gives room for the transfer of the functions from either level of government, I think it is the national government that should have transferred more functions to Nairobi County and not the other way around. Remember, for instance, Governor Sonko transferred transport, Nairobi County transport to the national government. There is a pending case in court on the issue of Road Classification Act, on which roads should be performed by the national level and which roads should be performed by the county level. There is a clash in that area because the national government, he's doing roads that belong to the counties. So in any case, it is the national government that should have transferred functions to Nairobi County, not the other way around. There is another issue of health.
So probably because you don't support the move, what perhaps was the best way to have handled this? Because everyone is aware that we have a governor who is undergoing a lot of legal issues which cripple his role as governor. So essentially there was a vacuum in a lot of ways. So a lot of people are criticizing the government for stepping in. So if the government perhaps hadn't taken that decision, what was the best route legally?
Thank you so much, Tamima. I'll pick it up from where Nathaniel has left. And maybe first to outline the legal issues surrounding all these move. You've heard people say activists going to court, this is illegal. Must say this is maiden. It is the first time it has happened. And
so there's no precedence of this anywhere in Kenya?
In Kenya, it has not happened before, especially after the 2010 Constitution. Article 187 of the Constitution provides for or envisages a situation where governments, that is national and county, or county and county, can transfer functions. Also, you look at the Intergovernmental Relations Act, it also stipulates clear procedures on what should happen. Looking at, for example, Section 26 of the Act, it provides that the agreement for transfer of functions must be signed by an authorized person. And before it is signed, it must be published in the Kenya Gazette.
So what you're saying is that it's very legal, because we know that it has been signed today. However, it comes into effect in March.
I am coming there because it must be published in the Kenya Gazette and also in the County Gazette. We are wondering, did that really happen?
Absolutely, it happened.
It happened. Yeah.
It happened.
It happened.
Signed Feb
Are the two
25th.
Gazette notices available?
Yeah.
It happened. Yeah, sure.
If it happened, then going to question the legality of the same, there is already a petition in court by Okia Omtata. I'm not here to prosecute his
Is anyone else
petition.
smiling that it's Okia?
Okay, I'm
Yes,
not
taking
here
off clothes of the case.
to prosecute Okia's petition, but we are yet to see what will come out of it. But what I must say is, as Nathaniel has correctly pointed out, Sonko's goose was already cooked long before. And I had seen that it was a question of when and not if this would happen.
Interesting.
If I may add further to that, I don't want to go to the nitty-gritties of the issues of whether the public was consulted or not. It is obvious. But something that you asked, and I want to point it out clearly, because this tipping point, I want to tip the point. Remember, when Governor Sonko is facing criminal charges of having allegedly stolen money, that should not be the excuse of removing executive powers from the governor. Remember, the powers the governor has is a donation of the power of the people, a section of the power of the people. And going forward, I think we are having a discussion about amending the constitution. Maybe we should consider removing the powers of, the powers of interpreting the political powers from the judiciary, so that the judiciary does not have powers of, hindering a sitting governor who has been elected by the people from exercising his functions. There is no way, I'm not here to speak for Sonko.
So before you come in, actually, I'll just remind our viewers of our social media handles. That's Switch TV KE, and of course, SMS lines always open for you for free. So chip in, and of course, Tamim will be sampling some of your views, because now impeachment case actually coming soon, so you don't know what's going to happen next week. Some MCAs, ODM MCAs say they won't actually go for it. So it looks like Sonko is actually in house, but people out there also had something to say about all this. So let's listen.
Na mimi ni mkaji wa Nairobi hapa sehemu za Kayole. Sasa mimi maoni yangu upande wa bwana gavana, kama atatolewa mamlakani, hiyo akipatikana na hatia, sasa atabeba msalaba wake. Na kama hana hatia, aendelee, kwa sababu yeye kikazi ni mzuri, amesaidia watu sana, lakini kama ana makosa, sasa yeye atabeba mzigo wake. Kwa hivyo mimi, maoni yangu, mimi sioni kama ambao kwamba kuna ubaya akitolewa na ukweli. Ile vibaya ni kutoka na kimakosa.
Kama yeye sasa alishindwa kufanya kazi, kazi ipewe mtu mwingine afanye. Unaona vile Nairobi ilikuwa inakaa. There is a lot of litter all over. Unaona ukitembea unaona litter. Yani Nairobi is not clean. And then unajua vile alikuwa na kesi, a lot of cases. It's good vile amesonga kando, somebody else take over, kama ni government iendelee na services.
Si kunyang'anywa, amenyang'anywa. Ni serikali kuu inajaribu kusaidia wana na services. Mambo imekuwa ni tatizo. Unaona? Na mambo ilianza kutoka siku ile tu alikosa governor, nyakati governor nani Gadhi alienda. Kumbe nikawachwa tu na mtu mwingine, hata sitaki kumuongelea mambo. Ni mtu nimependa, ni mtu tumekuwa naye mtaani, ni mtu nifikiria anaweza fanya mambo, lakini kaanza kushtuka. Kumbe Nairobi inaweza rot. Mimi nasema asante kwa serikali kuu kuja kuchukulia hiyo mambo, ndio at least Nairobians tukae poa.
Right, so that is views from a section of Nairobians. And obviously, if you live in Nairobi County, just to remind you what this new partnership between the Nairobi County government and the national government means for you is that county health services will now move to the national government, transport services, county public works, utilities, and ancillary services like planning and development. This deal is a 24-month deal, meaning that it comes into effect on March 15th. That is, it was signed Feb 25th, 2022, but it comes into effect March 15th. And then that means that for the next 24 months, the Nairobi County government will be working in conjunction with your national government. And of course, we know that there are parts of the deals that cover things like what happens in those 24 months, because at the end of the day, this is political in a sense. So what happens now when we have some sort of stirring from the Nairobi County government? What happens when they want to get out of the deal? Are they allowed to?
Those are the questions that we're also asking. For example, what will happen to the staff working in those departments that you have mentioned? Secondly, what will happen to the CECs who have been in charge of those functions? Will they be appointed now by the national government? How will they be paid? How will their names be integrated into the Public Service Commission? Those are the hard questions that we are asking. And this is why I'm insisting on the point that it should have been the other way around, that, for example, the health function has not been fully devolved. 90% of the health function is domiciled at the county level. But the unbundling of the health function has not been done by the national government. The national government is still holding onto those functions. So when you see a move like this, I know the Nairobians, those of us who live in Nairobi, we understand the issues that are affecting Nairobians. But this is not the way that should have happened. It's either, if Governor Sonko, the way things are, we should have waited for the impeachment so that we go for the election of the position of the governor, so that we have a competent governor as Nairobians are yearning. Okay. But the point is, it is not important or prudent to take over the functions of the county. That is killing devolution.
Okay, so let's just check in some few tweets from our leaders, because now this is where, you know, they tend to kind of release that anger. And a few leaders, of course, senators came out to just question what happened at State House. And you know very well, this really happened. As you can see, Senator Johnson Sakaja, if we had suspended the Nairobi County government, we would have necessitated an election of all wards and the office of the governor. We are not ready for that. That's Senator Sakaja. Absolutely. But of course, yeah, right now, you know, the whole issue, Tamima, here, I feel like, you know, hapa Kenya, kuna mchezo ufanywa bana. I don't understand what goes on, but I don't know, what's your thinking on this? Because Senator is closer to the president.
Absolutely, and of course, we're inviting you to let us know what your views are on the topics that we're discussing. And I understand we have a call on the line right now. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi, how are you? What's your name?
My name is Kamau Gure.
And where are you watching us from?
I'm watching from Yongai.
And which point would you like to tip? Or is it, which tip would you like to point on? Tipping points.
There's a point to
I'm kind of a little bit confused because you know, we have the cabinet. What becomes of the cabinet now? Now that everything has actually been moved away from you know, the county government, the Sonko itself. What becomes of the cabinet?
Okay, very valid question right there. So just hold on the line. But Mutunga, this is a very interesting question, because now when you talk about absorption, even the payroll, this thing will so much confusion. Was this done in a rush?
I think it was done in a rush. It was a calculated move. The national government knew what they were doing. So it was a meeting of four people, the AG, the Speaker of the Senate. It was a calculated move. And they had foreseen what would become in the next few months. But that leaves Kenyans in a limbo.
Yes.
Even constitutionally speaking, Governor Sonko did not have a substantive deputy governor who would have assumed office in the event of impeachment. Again, you look at even what the caller and Nathaniel have pointed out. What becomes of the CEC?
Yes.
We have the County Public Service Board. We have the County Public Service. It is headed by the County Secretary. We don't have a substantive County Secretary. There is a problem.
Interesting.
And remember, you know, there is this point that the presence of the Attorney General during the signing ceremony undermines the corruption case that Sonko is facing. Because the Attorney General is the chair of the multi-agency task force in charge of corruption. Now, his presence there, and that is, remember, the DPP has made an application before the court to review the bail terms of Governor Sonko. And it is the multi-agency task force that has been making those decisions that the DPP is making. So his presence undermines the case itself.
Absolutely.
The Governor Songo
Now,
is
remember, you can join the conversation via SMS line 22999, and of course on Twitter, that is #TippingPoint. Right now, it's time for a very quick break. Still more to come here on Tipping Point. Welcome back to Tipping Point. Now, remember that you can always share with us your views via the SMS line 22999, and just to hear what you have been saying from the topics that we have covered so far. So I have here, we have here Alex, who says the handover was bound to happen. Actually, it was a time bomb that was bound to explode. Should have read the script. He's not surprised. Then here, someone here commenting about the coronavirus, saying that if China would have been receptive to Kenyans, if it would have been in their position. So it's basically a question he's putting out. And then also questioning the act by the government and wondering where is the health ministry in all of this. Nick, do you have anything on Twitter?
Absolutely. You know, coronavirus in Kenya was trending at some 30 minutes ago. After this discussion, I think everyone was convinced that indeed things are not that serious, but again, not something to take it lightly. But I can see most of you right here, and the trending right now is actually COVID-19. Most of you are saying that indeed the coronavirus thing should have been explained more in details so that Kenyans could understand what is happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think obviously corona is something that, like I said earlier, this is a developing story. It's a global story. It's something that for sure we'll keep hearing about for the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
So right now, on to the other stories that we have for you. Obviously, you've heard about the late Kene, and his death is now a matter of public scrutiny and speculation. So this week, the coroner actually gave his report, and initially everyone was saying that it was suicide. That's what it was made to look out like. But now, increasingly, the scale is tipping towards, was it a murder?
Absolutely, because now, you know, in the country, in the Republic of Kenya, we've had situations where the disappearing acts usually happen when things are kind of rife, some controversy going on. And we can't just mention all of them, but let's start with maybe Msando. You know, this is one gentleman who controlled so many things as far as the IET department is concerned at the IEBC. But look at Bwana Sergeant Kene, who was attached to DP Ruto's office. And just a few days ago, we had an issue with his very close ally, that is former CS Chesa. And when you look and sequentially looking at all this maybe a developing story, you'll find there's something also missing. This guy dies, and then all of a sudden, his body was kind of decomposing. Government pathologist comes in after like 2 days. There's something not right here. Bwana Justice, maybe you're a Kenyan, and I'm very sure as a legal practitioner, you have something to say about this.
Yeah, I have something to say. One, I am not a pathologist. I am not a detective. But what I think and what is in the public domain
Tip it.
is something must have gone fall. This guy he said he was a very senior person in the office of the DP, and at this moment I would not really say whether it was murder or whether it was suicide, because we are yet the truth is yet to be unraveled. But extrajudicial killings is not new.
I genuinely have a problem with that statement, and I kind of feel like that is the reason behind this show. We cannot sit on a table and say extrajudicial killings are not new. You and I have to educate ourselves, because it pains me. That was a 33-year-old man, you know, the prime of his life. That was somebody's husband, somebody's son. And I think even something else that's coming out on this table, the fact that we are saying he was a key security personnel in the DP's office, but look at the kind of conditions he was living in.
Absolutely.
And I think when you're talking about grand corruption, and you're getting that people who are in the service, they're being embroiled in this, we as a country have to actually take a step back and actually look at everything, because I feel so sad that he's not here to speak his truth and to tell us what it is, how it is he met his demise, obviously, but it was part of what could only be best described as a grand corruption mafia. So could it be a cover? Because there are a lot of unanswered questions.
To add on to that, just briefly, the handwriting wasn't his. The suicide note wasn't his. Now, that turned the tables big time. We have to take this thing, man.
As much as I would like to take the point, I want to be very careful, just like Justice.
Yes.
First of all, these are very complex matters.
Absolutely.
It is very sad for a Kenyan to die in the line of duty.
Absolutely.
Especially when serving at a higher level office, like the office of the Deputy President. If somebody can die at that level, what about the ordinary Kenyans?
Yes.
The second point that I will wish to say, which is more important, is the issue of witness protection. This Kenai probably was a potential witness to the saga of the fake 39 billion military tender.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was a potential witness, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to substantiate on anything because I don't have the facts and I'm not able to make those, to make those statements at this point. But we must enhance the witness protection unit within government. So that the people who have critical information in some of these criminal matters, they are able to feel free in terms of giving out the information.
Okay, so let's move on, guys, because as you can still be part of it, because now not so many people are convinced that this guy committed suicide, but again, we'll leave it for the investigation bodies to come up with a very stable answer. But as it is, even a class 6 pupil somewhere, when you give him or her the sequence of events and the evidence on the table, they will tell you what happened. But now let's move on. I'm very sure you've heard of Ngiritas, Chokora, German, and all things. Tamima.
I think I as a mother, I do sympathize with Phyllis Njeri-Ngirita because, and you know that whole expression, when they go low, you go high.
Yeah.
So no matter what charges are being leveled against her, I kind of feel like there needs to be some extent of fairness. However, I do not necessarily agree with her comments because in a country where people are, struggling to survive, if your problem is that your child cannot speak German anymore, and then in the context of all the schools we have in Kenya, so my heart goes out to her as a mother, but I wish that she could get some counsel in the context of, not many Kenyans are going to sympathize with you for saying that you can no longer afford to take your child to one of the most elite schools in the country. It's sad, it might be unfair because I don't know the truth of what the parameters of the case are. What are your thoughts, Nathaniel?
Maybe the Wakili should go first.
Wakili should start here.
I think Njeri was speaking out of distress, and I must sympathize with her because if all her accounts have been frozen, then that means, does she have anything to survive on? It is a question. She doesn't.
Zero.
So
I think the bigger question is, what does she consider survival? Because clearly that needs to be readjusted. What you and I consider survival might not be
priority.
What
absolutely.
she considers survival.
Yeah, she's wondering that her child cannot speak German. Yet we have students elsewhere in this republic that do not have classrooms. So clearly we are not on the same table. So what I would say regarding her situation, definitely for her bank accounts to be frozen, it means they are the subject of investigation. They are directly linked to the case that she is facing before court. And what if the court has made an order? That order must be complied with. If you are dissatisfied, apply to the court to review the order. The circumstances might have changed, and so much in her favor, such that even the court would reconsider the orders issued, review, or if she is dissatisfied, she has a right of appeal. She has advocates.
Because of time, Nathaniel, let's just move on to something else, because now we are talking about a very kind of unfortunate issue over there, because in Ngirita, as it is, accounts frozen, very unfortunate, guys. But still, something else, Tamima, I must mention here. When you talk about Top Cohen's death, this is something we didn't really kind of expect to turn out the way it turned out, because now a judge has now been involved in all these cases. Now, it's really unfortunate because a judicial officer is in the picture of a death situation, sending people to kill a very innocent man, dump him in a septic tank, and now the wife also involved, and the judge, very senior judge involved.
Obviously, we all know that from the developments on this story, Judge Sankala is on the spot. He is allegedly linked up with the prime suspect in this case, who is the late Top Cohen's wife. And I think in a lot of ways, yes, we know that that is an ongoing murder case, but what it really puts into the spotlight is the trust of the Kenyan public in the judiciary.
Sure.
Nathaniel, thoughts on that?
I think the point I wanted to make earlier is also related to the point that I want to make now.
Sure.
Because I'm a radical left politician, there's something that I wish to say regarding the Kenyan judiciary.
Okay.
We have two sets of judicial systems in Kenya. We have the first set of judicial system, which is for the rich, and another one is for the poor. In this case, this judicial system that you have just described, it is about those people who have access to the judicial officers, the lawyers who can be able to influence the judicial officers, and the people who have money or influence. They say that in Kenya, the law is not interpreted to favor the truth.
Okay.
The law is interpreted to favor the holder of power or somebody who can influence the judiciary.
Okay.
Therefore, this is perfectly the case. And I think maybe over time, we need to have a radical surgery on the judicial system in Kenya.
All right, interesting.
I can say something.
Yeah, sure, as we wind up.
Yeah, as we wind up.
Time is almost up.
I will not comment on what Nathaniel has said.
Okay.
But one of the rules of natural justice is no man should be condemned unheard.
Okay.
The judge has not yet been presented in court. Investigation, maybe the DCI are wrapping up their case. We don't know what they'll charge the judge with. But rumor has it, if they consider charging the judge with the murder of Cohen, then maybe they treat him as an accessory. After the fact.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Bwana Justice Mutunga, for your sentiments today. And remember, LSK election, Nestle Harvey has won it. So LSK actually thinking...
Congratulations to the brave Nuba.
He says the brave Nuba.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's hope he'll make amends. So my name is Nick Mudimba.
And that's all the time we have for you tonight. Until next week, this has been Tipping Point. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Yeah, thank you.